Have you ever felt like you were fighting a battle that was just too much for you? Like every day was a struggle, every breath felt heavy, and no matter how hard you tried, nothing seemed to change? I know that feeling well, because I've been there too. You see, I used to think that I had to be the one to fix everything, that if I didn't push harder, try harder, or be stronger, it would all fall apart. But one morning, something shifted in my heart. I woke up and realized that maybe, just maybe, this battle wasn't mine to fight. Maybe it was a battle that belonged to God. Today, I want to take you on a journey that begins in the quiet moments when we're too tired to keep going and continues through the ancient words of Exodus 14:14. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. This isn't just a verse from an old book. It's a promise for you, right here and right now. Together, we'll explore what it really means to let go of control and trust that God is fighting for us. We'll dive deep into real stories, honest struggles, and the powerful truth that you don't have to carry it all alone. Because this isn't just your battle, it's His. So grab a cup of coffee, take a deep breath, and let's step for one. Opening hook. This battle is not yours. Have you ever found yourself in a season of life where every step forward felt like trudging through mud? Where no matter how hard you pushed, no matter how much you prayed or planned, it seemed like nothing would budge? I remember a time when I was carrying so much weight on my shoulders, trying to be everything for everyone, trying to fix problems that were never mine to fix. I was exhausted, not just in my body, but in my spirit. It felt like the more I tried to control the outcome, the more things fell apart. One day, I was sitting in my car after another long and disappointing meeting. My heart was heavy, and my mind was racing with questions. Why, God? Why does it feel like no matter what I do, it's never enough? I was at the end of my rope, and that's when I remembered the words in Exodus 4:14. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. In that moment, something clicked. I realized that the fight I had been so desperate to win wasn't even mine to begin with. It was God's battle, and I had been trying to fight it on my own strength. Maybe today, you're feeling the same way. Maybe you've been carrying a burden that was never meant to be yours. Maybe you're fighting a battle that was never yours to win. And if that's you, I want you to hear this. You don't have to keep struggling alone. There is one who fights for you. You are not called to carry the weight of the world on your own shoulders. This battle, whatever it looks like for you, belongs to God. So as we step into this journey together, let this be the first truth you hold on to. You are not alone. You are not abandoned. And most importantly, you are not expected to win this fight by yourself. In the next part, we'll dig deeper into why we feel so exhausted when we try to control everything, and how to finally let go and trust the one who fights for you. Why you're exhausted, the hidden reason behind your weariness. Have you ever wondered why you're so tired, even when you're doing everything you can to make life work? It's not just about late nights or long hours. It's deeper than that. It's the exhaustion that seeps into your soul, the kind that makes even the simplest tasks feel like mountains you have to climb. For so many of us, that exhaustion comes from one simple thing: trying to control what was never meant to be controlled. I remember a friend of mine. Let's call her Sarah. She's a loving mom, a devoted wife, and a caring friend. Every day, she gave everything she had to her family, her work, and her community. But there was this weight she carried that no one else could see. She felt like she had to have all the answers, had to keep everyone safe, had to make sure everything turned out exactly right. She was holding on so tightly that she didn't even realize she was losing herself in the process. One night, over coffee, she finally let the words slip out. I'm so tired. I'm tired of feeling like it's all on me. And in that moment, she realized what so many of us need to hear. We're exhausted because we're carrying burdens we were never meant to carry alone. Here's the lesson that Sarah's story taught me, and maybe it's what you need to hear today too. Control is an illusion. The more we try to grip it, the more it slips through our fingers. And when we let go, not because we're giving up, but because we're finally letting God step in, that's when we find real rest. That's when we discover that we don't have to be everything for everyone, because He already is. In the next part, we'll look at a powerful promise from Scripture that shows us exactly how to trade our exhaustion for His strength. Because you were never meant to fight this alone. And there is hope, real hope, when you let go of the need to control and trust the one who holds it all. Biblical foundation, a steadfast promise in Exodus 14:13-14. Let's take a moment and go back in time, all the way to the dusty roads and endless wilderness where the Israelites found themselves trapped. The mighty Egyptian army was closing in behind them. The roaring Red Sea stood in front of them, and fear threatened to swallow them whole. It was a moment of sheer panic, no options, no escape. But it was in that moment that God spoke words that still echo through time, straight to our weary hearts today. Do not be afraid. Stand firm, and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring you today. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. What a powerful promise. When the Israelites were cornered with no way out, God didn't give them a battle plan or a 5-step strategy. He simply said, "Be still." And that's the lesson tucked into these ancient words. Sometimes the greatest act of faith is to stop striving and start trusting. It's to believe that even when you can't see a way forward, God is already making a way where there seems to be none. I remember a time when those words became real for me. It was a season when everything felt out of control, and I was desperate for answers. I was clinging so tightly to my own plans that I forgot to simply stand still and let God work. But when I finally did, when I stopped fighting and started listening, I saw miracles unfold that I never could have orchestrated on my own. Maybe you've been in that place too. Maybe you're there right now, feeling stuck between an army of fear and an ocean of uncertainty. If that's you, remember this promise: the Lord will fight for you. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to be strong enough on your own. He's already working, even when you can't see it. And in the next part, we'll explore how to actually let go of control, surrendering what was never yours. Have you ever noticed how tightly we try to grip the reins of our lives? We plan, we prepare, we strategize, as if everything depends on our next move. It's almost like we're playing a never-ending game of tug-of-war with God. We say we trust Him, but deep down, we're still holding on for dear life. And the more we hold on, the more our hearts grow weary. I remember sitting with a friend of mine, Jason, who had just gone through a painful season in his life. He'd lost his job unexpectedly, and with it, his sense of security and control. I thought I was in charge, he told me, eyes filled with both pain and relief. But the truth is, I never really was. That simple confession, that letting go of the illusion of control, changed everything for him. It didn't take the struggle away, but it shifted his perspective. He stopped wrestling with questions he couldn't answer and started leaning into the one who holds every answer. Here's the lesson I've learned. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It doesn't mean you stop caring or trying. It means you stop carrying the weight of the outcome and you trust that God's plan is bigger and better than anything you could ever imagine. When you let go, you create space for Him to move. You make room for His peace to fill the places your own striving has left empty. So today, maybe it's time to loosen your grip, to take a deep breath and say, God, I trust you more than I trust my plans. Because when you do, you'll discover that freedom isn't found in control, it's found in surrender. In the next part, we'll talk about what that surrender really looks like in everyday life and why it's so much harder and more beautiful than we often realize. Let's keep going together. Trust versus struggle, faith or just fighting to survive. It's one of the hardest questions we face in moments of uncertainty. Am I really trusting God, or am I just struggling on my own? Sometimes it's so easy to blur the line between faith and frantic effort. We say we're leaning on Him, but our minds are still racing, our hearts still weighed down by every what if and what now. I think about my friend Emily, who spent months trying to rebuild her life after a painful divorce. She told me, I was praying every day, but honestly, I was just trying to fix it all myself. I said I trusted God, but I was still holding on to every piece, trying to make sense of it on my own terms. It wasn't until she learned to distinguish real trust from the desperate struggle to keep it all together that her heart began to heal. That's the difference between trust and struggle. Trust is when you take that deep breath and say, God, even if I don't understand, I'm going to let you lead. It's not passive. It's an active decision to place your faith in Him, even when you don't see the path ahead. Struggle, on the other hand, is fueled by fear. The fear that if you stop trying to control it all, everything will fall apart. Here's the lesson. Faith isn't about giving up, and it's not about doing nothing. It's about resting in the certainty that God's plan is bigger than your own. It's about letting Him carry what you can't. And when you do that, you're not giving up the fight. You're just shifting it to the one who's already won. In the next part, we're going to look what happens when your faith is tested in the fire, and how those fiery 6, faith in the fire. When faith is tested, have you ever felt like the very moment you decide to trust God, everything gets harder? It's almost as if the minute you let go of control and say, okay, God, I'm trusting you, the heat turns up. That's not a coincidence. That's what the Bible calls the testing of our faith. And while it's never comfortable, it's always purposeful. I remember a friend, Mark, who faced an unexpected health crisis. He'd always been strong and capable, but suddenly he was forced to let go of everything he thought he could rely on, even his own body. I kept asking, God, why me? Why now? He shared with me one night. But in that fire, I started to see that maybe the question wasn't why, but what are you trying to show me, Lord? It wasn't easy. There were nights when fear was louder than faith, when the questions felt bigger than any answer. But in that place of testing, Mark discovered something he never would have known otherwise, that God's presence is often the clearest when the fire is hottest. That's what these fiery trials do. They strip away everything that's not real. They expose the parts of us that we're still holding on to fear or doubt. And in that refining process, our faith becomes deeper, stronger, and more real than ever before. It's in the fire that you realize faith isn't about having all the answers. It's about trusting the one who does. So if you're in the fire today, know this: you're not alone. God isn't far away. He's right there with you, working in ways you might not see yet. In the next part, we'll explore how to take those moments of testing. Number 7, testimonies, sharing your story. Sometimes the most powerful thing we can offer is our own story. When we share where we've been and how God has shown up in the middle of our mess, it reminds others that they're not alone. It's not about having a perfect ending or a flawless journey. It's about being real and honest about the ways God has met you in the battle. I think about my friend Rachel, who faced years of financial hardship after losing her job. She told me once, I thought my story was over. I didn't see how God could possibly use this mess for anything good. But then she started sharing her struggles with her small group at church. She didn't sugarcoat it. She talked about the nights she lay awake worrying, the prayers that felt like they bounced off the ceiling. But she also talked about the small, quiet ways God provided. A surprise check in the mail, a neighbor who dropped off groceries, a sense of peace that came in the middle of the chaos. And as she shared, something beautiful happened. Others started sharing too. They started to see that maybe God could meet them in their battles, just like He met Rachel in hers. That's the lesson we all need to remember. Your testimony isn't just for you. It's a light for someone else who's walking a similar road. It's a reminder that even in the darkest seasons, God is still at work. So if you're holding on to a story of how God has fought for you, I encourage you to share it with a friend, with your community, or even in the comments below, because your story might be the encouragement someone else needs to keep going. In the next part, we'll talk about the common pitfalls. Common pitfalls. The mistakes we make when letting God fight. Letting go and letting God fight our battles sounds simple, but the truth is, there are some common traps that can trip us up along the way. It's not that we don't want to trust Him, it's that our old habits and fears can sneak back in when we're not paying attention. One of the biggest pitfalls is thinking that trusting God means we stop caring or stop taking action. Like my friend David, who once told me, I thought if I just said, God, I give it all to you, I didn't have to do anything anymore. But what he learned, and what we all have to remember, is that trusting God doesn't mean we sit back and wait for everything to fix itself. It means we keep doing what He's called us to do, but with an open hand and a surrendered heart. It's about letting go of the outcome, not the effort. Another common mistake is losing patience. We live in a world that tells us everything should happen fast. Instant answers, instant results. But God's timing isn't always our timing. When things don't change as quickly as we'd like, it's easy to take the battle back into our own hands, thinking, maybe God needs a little help here. But that only leads us back to the same place, exhausted and discouraged. Finally, there's the trap of trying to control the narrative. We start to think, I'll trust God, but only if things turn out the way I want them to. It's like putting conditions on our faith, and that's not real trust. Real trust says, God, I believe you know best, even if I don't understand it right now. Here's the lesson. Letting God fight doesn't mean we give up. It means we give over. We hand him the reins, knowing he sees the whole picture and loves us more deeply than we can imagine. In the next part, we'll explore how to take all these truths and actually apply them in our day 9. Applying it today, living it out in everyday American life. It's one thing to talk about letting God fight our battles, but how do we actually live that out in the busyness and chaos of modern American life? Between work deadlines, family responsibilities, and the constant noise of social media, it can feel almost impossible to pause and let go. I think about my friend Lisa, a single mom who works 2 jobs and still finds time to serve at her church. One evening, over a quiet cup of coffee, she shared with me how she learned to apply these truths in the middle of her packed schedule. I started by just taking 5 minutes in the morning, she said. No phone, no rushing around, just me, my Bible, and a moment to say, God, this day is yours. It didn't change the fact that her to-do list was still long, but it changed her heart. It gave her a sense of peace she'd never felt before. Here's a simple way to start applying this. First, identify the battle you're carrying today. Maybe it's your finances, your relationships, your job. Write it down and ask yourself honestly, am I trying to fight this on my own? Then find a promise in Scripture, like Exodus 14:14, and speak it over your situation every day. It might feel small, but these little acts of surrender can transform the way you face each moment. Another powerful practice is to invite community in. So often, we think we have to figure it all out alone. But when you share your struggles with a friend or a trusted group, it's like shining a light in a dark place. Suddenly, the weight isn't just yours to carry. And that's exactly how God designed it to be. The lesson here is simple but profound. You don't have to face this alone. And when you choose to trust God's plan more than your own strength, you open the door for him to move in ways you might never expect. In the final part, we'll wrap it all together. A reminder of the hope that anchors us, and a call to step forward in faith. Let's finish this journey. Final encouragement and call to action, a gentle reminder and your next step. As we come to the end of this journey, I want to remind you of something simple and powerful. You don't have to have it all figured out to trust that God is already working on your behalf. You don't have to be the strongest or the smartest or the most put together. You just have to be willing to take that next small step of faith and let him meet you right where you are. I think about a friend of mine, Brian, who once told me, I thought I had to have this big, dramatic story of breakthrough. But sometimes the most powerful testimony is just saying, I don't have the answers, but I know the one who does. That's what real faith looks like. Not a polished story, but a heart that keeps showing up and saying, God, I trust you today. So here's my encouragement for you. Take that first step. Maybe it's a whispered prayer in the quiet of your morning. Maybe it's reaching out to someone you trust and saying, I can't do this alone. Or maybe it's simply choosing, right here and right now, to believe that this battle truly isn't yours to fight, it's his. And if this message has touched your heart, I'd love to hear your story. Drop a comment below, share how God has been fighting for you, or how you're learning to let go and trust him. Your words might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. If you found this message encouraging, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to ChristGlow Daily. We're building a community here, a place where stories of faith and hope can shine light into the darkest days. Let's keep walking together because the journey isn't over yet. And remember, you're never